whose name showed up more than 50 times in Jeffrey Epstein's redacted lawsuit documents? Find out today as we uncover the deep state's plans for 2024. I'm Drenda, and this is Drenda on Guard. Let's get into it. 2024 is already shaping up to be an explosive year in this fight for truth, and you need to be in the know about everything that's going on so you can stand firm. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel today and stay up to date with what's happening around the world and how it all relates to God's kingdom in these times. Last year, Sam Bankman-Fried made the news with his shady business dealings that led to the collapse of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange. What you may have missed, however, is that Sam was responsible for illegally donating millions of dollars to politicians here in the U.S. Who are they? Well, the Department of Justice doesn't want you to know the answer to that question. The first trial, focused on embezzlement and fraud, had already been resolved. Because of this, the DOJ doesn't see fit to hold a second trial that would implicate many U.S. politicians who may have received bribes from Sam in 2021 and 2022. Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA had this to say: "This case has become too high profile for the DOJ to completely ignore, but they made sure laundering $100 million of customers' money to Schumer, Biden, and McConnell and other dark money groups would never blow back on the elite. Trump faces 700 years in federal prison, but America's uniparty cabal just gave themselves a get-out-of-jail-free card. You're witnessing D.C. corruption in real time." I couldn't agree more. I have to say, when I see his name, it looks like Sam Bankman-Fried, and I think we're in some kind of Hollywood movie, Hunger Games. Of course, you name the guy who's in cryptocurrency, Sam Bankman-Fried. It's like fried, which one? I think he'll be fried in the long term. However, there is good news on the horizon as darkness is being exposed. In December, a federal judge ruled that Jeffrey Epstein's court documents will be unsealed this year. Yes, and it's already happening. A large portion of those documents have come out already, and here's what we know so far. The full release will publicize the names of over 170 Jeffrey Epstein associates. These names have been hidden up to this point as Jane and John Doe's, but many of those names have been released to the public. The only names that will remain hidden are those of the underage victims. John Doe, number 36, who was named over 50 times in the unsealed documents, revealed to be none other than former President Bill Clinton. Are any of us surprised? I mean, we have all kinds of other names as well. Names that we've heard, rumored, things that we've heard. Some of those names, of course, Les Wexner in our own backyard here, as I've called out before, and as I call out in my book, They're Coming for Your Children. I do actually a whole expose on Epstein and the group and the Lolita jet that actually came from Les Wexner, all of the things going on, and now we even have new revelations about the Hollister Company, as well as Abercrombie & Fitch and Michael Jeffries, who also worked with Les Wexner. So we have, and there's allegations that they trafficked young men. So we have Victoria's Secret, we have Hollister, we have Abercrombie & Fitch, all allegations against these companies trafficking, using these companies to traffic young women and young men. We'll see how all of that plays out. But I talk about that in the book and the connection to world figures as well as politicians, celebrities, because these are the people who have driven agendas against our children for years. And that's why I wasn't obsessing over that, but it needed to be exposed. And now we see even more of that. So if you haven't read They're Coming for Your Children, The Fight We Must Win, a lot is in there, more than we can cover today. But Chris Tucker, Michael Jackson, David Copperfield, all on the island. Prince Andrew, of course, we've heard and seen lots about that caused him to actually have some some issues happened there in the UK and the loss of title and some things there. But there's been a lot released in these documents. There's a woman who was a pilot who was taken by Epstein at 15 years old and became his slave. She was a co-conspirator, part of the whole thing, that, you know, she was a child. You know, it's interesting also, they tried to change, minimize, soften terminology when the mainstream media is covering this. Of course, they want to implicate Trump as the big name in it, but everything about Trump has been either retracted, debunked, or it's just been hearsay, but that's the lead story. They want to talk about Trump. Trump was here, Trump did that, and now all of that's been debunked. And don't you think they already had information? If they already had anything, as much as they've gone after Trump, it would be out there. You'd see the pictures, you'd see everything. But what really is going on is these people, celebrities, sports figures, politicians that were on the island, big names and figures like Prince Andrew, these people are afraid. Even Barack Obama, the day after President Trump was inaugurated in 2016, went straight to Richard Branson's island, which is right next to Epstein's island. Richard Branson has been fighting and fighting to do away with the death penalty. And why? Because he knows all of these people, their involvement, they've tried to minimize what has happened on these islands and what's been done to these children. First of all, they try to call them underage women. No, these are youth. These are children. Stop the games with calling them underage women. You're just trying to minimize, CNN and other networks, you're trying to minimize that these are kids, these are youth, these are children that have been targeted by evil people who have used them, abused them, and made them sex slaves. But this young woman has been missing now since these release and dump of information have come out. She's missing, and several other situations going on. Has someone put her in witness protection, or has someone stolen her, or is she suicidal, or has something happened with her? We don't know, but we know that he took her from Slovakia when she was 15 years old. That's a child, that's a youth, and has used her and manipulated her for all of these things going on. We have all kinds of other names going on as well. Also, watch another terminology they'll use, and that is they'll say non-consensual sex. No, it's rape. Stop calling it non-consensual sex. And sex with minors is not acceptable. I don't care what you say. So they're pushing government, they're pushing to make policy that youth and kids can consent to sex. This is all part of their pedophilia. You know, they accused Trump a long time ago of being a misogynist, right? They've driven misogynist, and made a huge deal over certain terminologies that were used. But at the same time, they were minimizing pedophilia and saying, oh, it didn't really happen. It's why they came out against the Sound of Freedom movie, which I also document in my book, They're Coming for Your Children. It's why they've tried to minimize it, make it a QAnon conspiracy. There's no pedophilia in Hollywood. There's no pedophilia in politicians. None of this is going on at Epstein Island. None of this is happening. They're lying. And they were scared spitless when Trump was inaugurated and put in office because he said the words, they should get the death penalty. And ever since then, they've been running scared and have brought out a voracious attack and have tried to do everything they can to keep Trump out of office, because he says when he is, they will get the death penalty. And also in these allegations, we've also seen these dumps of Epstein documents in emails. There's also where it's stated that Clinton likes them young. We have Steve Hawking having an underage orgy. Again, underage? No, let's call it what it is, an orgy with children, with youth. This is what Steve Hawking did. Bill Richardson, the now deceased former New Mexico governor, Bill Richardson. Bill Gates, the Microsoft founder and CEO, often tries to downplay his relationship with Epstein, even though the two have met in Gates' offices in Seattle with a model who was promised a job at his foundation. There's also Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, who has been to the infamous island and even made plans to visit Epstein's mansion in New York City, according to the New York Post. Hoffman has been known to donate his wealth to Democrat politicians and organizations, but in 2023, he decided to donate $250,000 to Republican candidate Nikki Haley. Let's remember, Nikki Haley is part of the World Economic Forum as well. As I talk about in Fight Like Heaven, and they're coming for your children, these agendas are coming from high places. And these people, these elites, have used politicians, celebrities, to cover, to sell their wares. They've involved them. They've been part of this. This has been an international sex trafficking ring. I believe it's getting exposed. And they'll do anything to stop Donald Trump in 2024, to stop their exposure and then being brought to execution and to the death penalty, as many of them deserve. And you may think, well, Nadia Marenova, this missing model pilot, co-conspirator with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, you may think, well, she's as guilty as they are. But let's do remember, she was 15 years old when he took her from her country. He used her, abused her, made her his slave, broke her, I believe, mentally, emotionally, and used her then against other young women. And so, we need to consider what was done to her as a child to break her and use her. And this is horrific. To do these things to children, it actually reforms their thinking. It completely brainwashes them and breaks them down. And I pray somewhere she's being protected, and I pray she'll come out against all of these evildoers and hopefully get less of a sentence. I don't know if that's what you think. Let me know what you think about it. But I do think when you take a child and you involve her in all of these things and you break her first emotionally, and this is what they do in Hollywood too. They break people. They break them down until they no longer have an identity. Then they use them to sell their wares. This is like the Hunger Games. It's what's happened with celebrities, with stars. People, all these young kids want to be a star. They want to be famous. They want to be popular. But what they really do is break these stars and give them fame and fortune if they'll do their bidding, if they'll sell their wares. That's why you see Hollywood stars all the time speaking up, and they're activated to speak up or speak for some big agenda that's being pushed by the World Economic Forum and leaders from foreign places and elitists. They're used like this. And if they do what they want them to do, they have a career, they have fortunes, but they've been sold out. Many stars and celebrities have said, I sold my soul to the devil. Well, they really have. And that's what happens. So sometimes all it glitters is not gold. And I had one time someone tell me in that sphere of influence said, it's not what it seems to be. They sell it as really glamour and excitement. It's really idolatry that's used to sell satanic, occultic ideologies straight from the pit of hell. And let's just be honest, straight from the pit of hell. And so let's not idolize these people anymore. Let's recognize, I just binged Hunger Games, can you tell, with the new one coming out, and I went back and watched all the old ones, but it's true. It is so true. I said it many years ago in my very first book, She Gets It. I talked about how celebrities have been used to sell abortion, sell LGBTQ, sell all these agendas to young unsuspecting children, brainwash them, brainwash our culture, desensitize us, and really get us to the place where we expect it and we accept it. So let's go there and let's make sure we expose these things to our kids and have these conversations so that our children don't fall into these things. Ezekiel 3:11 says, go get the captives, your people's children, and speak to them, whether they hear or refuse. This is the reason I wrote, and they're coming for your children. The fight we must win. I wrote it because we've got to go after our children, our people's children, the American children, the world's children. We've got to go after them and jerk them out of the clutches of a celebrity culture, Hollywood culture that is using and abusing them, and out of the hands of politicians that are making policies to use and abuse children. So between pharmaceutical companies who are using and abusing children, and Hollywood culture that's using and abusing children, and politicians that are being controlled. How many of these politicians, went to Epstein Island? How many of them are making policies and they know how to push the buttons anytime something comes up, some issue, they get them to vote or to stand up or to speak up in their the way they want them to perform. They're nothing more than puppets because they were at Epstein's Island, because they have dirt on them, because they have stuff on them. It's called a honeypot, and it's as old as mankind, really. I mean, look at Samson and Delilah. It's as old as it comes. The honeypot, where you dangle the carrot, you set someone up, you get dirt on them, you get information on them, you use sin to get them into a bind, and then you have something on them that you control and manipulate. And that is what we are going to see, I believe, come down in 2024. Let you and I keep praying. Darkness is being exposed. We are in a warfare. And 2024, I can reassure you, will be a year like no other year we've seen. We must stand strong. We must stay with truth. We cannot grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we faint not. Evil does not seem to have any limitations. It doesn't seem to have any weariness. They just keep fighting with everything. You and I must stay unified and fight like heaven, just as strong, if not more so, because we have a heavenly cause. Is there not a cause? Are the children not important enough? Is the future of our nation and our grandchildren, are those not reasons for you and I to expose darkness and to be willing to be righteous and bold? The Bible says the righteous are as bold as a lion. So I encourage you to speak up, share my book. They're coming for your children, The Fight We Must Win. Let's not be silent, and let's not be afraid or cowardly. The Bible says God has not given you and I a spirit of timidity, but of love, power, and a sound mind. Because we are loved by God, He cares for us. He cares for us. He's got our back. He's watching out for us. We can be bold. We can be courageous. We have His love. We have a sound mind. We know the truth, and the truth sets us free and others free. So let's keep speaking up. Please share this with others, and let's get this information out. And if they take things down, we'll get it right back up. Please share it again. But if you go to Rumble, there we're not censored. So be wise to also the agencies that you're using, social companies, all of the things we're using. This is the battle. We must pull the money from those that are doing dark deeds and put it toward those that are in the light, trying to help save our nation. And we'll try to help you more and more recognize who those companies are. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time here on Drenda on Guard. And until then, stay on guard.